TransformNation. I'm Coach Omar, this is Dr. Karen, and this is our second podcast. We're going to be talking about myself this time. And well, just quickly to recap, Dr. Karen's been a sports psychologist here in the UAE for 4 years, and I'm completing my first year as a triathlon coach here in the UAE. So, well, Karen has a couple of questions about what I've done, where I come from, and let's just give it a go. So, Karen, what are
Omar.
Yeah.
So, tell me, how did you first get into triathlons?
Well, honestly, I found out about triathlon when I was working back in Mexico. I used to work at FMCG, so at some point I was working at Pepsi. And, my office colleagues actually invited me to do a triathlon one day. And I was like, yeah, super. I thought that I was fit because I played football before, like American football. And, I asked them, like, what is a triathlon? Oh, you swim, you bike, and you run. Which sounds very straightforward, right? And they were doing a sprint triathlon, so it was kind of it sounds very enticing, a sprint triathlon, because it closes with a 5K run. They do like, it is a 750 swim, 20-kilometer bike, which to anyone who doesn't do these things, that you never know. And then a 5K run, and you, like, this happens to everyone. It's like, oh, 5K run, I can manage this. It should be easy, right? And I used to go to the gym a lot and lift weights, all those things. I'm going to kick these, like, little people's ass. And no, man, they really schooled me. It was really hard, but it was fun. And that was my first triathlon experience, with some friends at the office, and I just gave it a try, and I really liked it. And also, there's this element of me that I have, my pride was hurt that they beat me, so I of course got more into that. And then from there I just progressed into doing other triathlons.
So how many triathlons, or have you done any Ironman as well?
Yeah, I've run 4 Ironman. Subsequently, after I got my ass handed over by my friends, kind of got into it, and I went all in. So I was like, fine, I'm going to do an Ironman triathlon. So that eventually led me to actually being a bigger nerd and actually having to train more. But I've started, this is my 6th year in triathlon, and I've done 4 Ironman. I'm going to do my 5th this year, and I've done several half distances, which are 70.3s, which is half the distance of an Ironman, and just Olympic triathlons. So just to put it in perspective, sprint triathlon is, like I said, 750 meters swim, then you bike for 20 kilometers, and then you run for 5K. An Olympic triathlon is strictly twice that much. So you swim for 1.5 kilometers, then you bike for 40 kilometers, and you run for 10K. Then half Ironman is a little bit different, but it is kind of the same. It's 1,800 swimming, you bike for 90K, and then you run for 21.1, which is a half marathon. And the Ironman is the longest. It's not the longest because it was Ultraman, but it's the longest of the 4 in this case, which is 3.8K swimming, and then you have 180 kilometers biking, and you run 42.2, which is the marathon. Those I dabble in all of them.
So obviously doing an Ironman or even half Ironman takes up a lot of training time. So how are you able to balance training for the Ironman, and keeping a social life?
Okay, well, when for my first 3 Ironman, I actually was still working at an office, and it actually does become a challenge because you have to invest some hours, right? So what I learned to do was learn how to train with minimalists training programs, which means that during the week you do have to spend about anywhere from maybe 2 to 3 hours of training per day, but it's more focused on interval training and power training. And then on the weekends you do your long runs and your long bikes, and it actually helps figure it out a lot. So basically what you need to do is become a little bit more organized. So what I would do is I had a training session in the morning, usually like a run or a bike, and then go to work, and after work I'd go swimming. And if I knew that I was going to have a long day at work, then I'd try to get everything done from 5 to 7 a.m. and then go to work. So that's the training part. And the social part, it does suffer a little bit more, because before this I used to drink out with my friends about Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, but it's just a lot of triathletes told me this when I started. It's just a matter of decisions. You start making decisions, and you decide what you like better, you know, and if you start liking training better, then it's really a no-brainer. You stop going out that much. Or if you keep going out, you don't drink, and you kind of like stay out for a while with your friends and go to bed early. I mean, really, the difference is not that much, because you can still party every once in a while, but just not that much. And yeah, that's how you balance it. I mean, and obviously there's the social aspect of training. If you have a training team, then you have a bunch of people that you hang around with, and it just turns out that instead of hanging out like 3 a.m. and being drunk, you're like 5 a.m. and just running around with friends.
Yeah, great. So you came to the UAE a year ago,
Yeah.
and you decided to set up your own company, Go Strong. What made you decide to
do that?
To set up your own company, to become a coach, go from athlete to coach? Actually, you do both as well. So how's that?
Well, honestly, I just didn't like my job back home, and I wanted to take different change in my, or a different approach in my career. So I got certified as a coach, because what happened was that as I actually started getting more into the sport, it's a beautiful sport and people get drawn to it. So my friends started inquiring about it, you know, like, hey, how can I do a triathlon? How can I run? You know, I started learning about the post method, so you know, you learn how to run and not get hurt. And you know, a lot of people kind of are curious about it, but they're afraid to start training because it looks so daunting from outside. So they know someone, they go and ask you, and I love talking about it. So just kind of break it down easy for them. Like, well, you know, you can actually train for a couple of weeks and then maybe get ready for 10K and see if you like it, or 5K, you know. And even like in Coca-Cola, I started having, well, my last corporate job was Coke, and there I started training some of my friends. I had like a group of people, like 10 people, that just wanted to learn how to run, and we started some easy 5Ks, and their first, like the goal for the first time was their first 10K, and now they're running marathons and triathlons as well, you know. So I just kind of, it came naturally to me. Even when I played football, people asked me how to lift weights and all those things, and I like sharing this information, so you know, it was just a natural step for me. So yeah, I just came here to the UAE, and I thought that I could find a group of people that I could train with, since it's been growing great.
Great. So how are you able to balance being a coach and an athlete at the same time?
Well, now that I don't have an office job, it's actually much easier. So what happens is, most of the times I have training sessions where I have some of my athletes and they can come and train, and what happens is each one does their own thing. And then at the end of the training session, we get together and recap, you know, talk about the intention of the training, and then go have coffee or whatever. So that sometimes knocks my training off. And you know, sometimes I just train by myself. It's really not that hard to balance between being an athlete and a coach. And more now that I actually can concentrate more on my training, I just get more knowledge, so I can just kind of share it with my people.
Great. You mentioned that you were a post method coach.
Yeah.
Can you explain that a bit more?
Okay, well, yeah, the post method is this biomechanics study that actually focuses on studying what the basic poses are for all movement. It's not just for running, although it's taken up more for running, but basically what the post method looks for is it identifies what are the basic movements for any activity, and then teaches you how to do them properly. So that way you actually clear out the clutter that any other vices you might have with your running style or whatever. So what happened was this Russian scientist called Dr. Romanov, he started developing it. And he was a high jumper, and he was trying to develop like a better technique for himself. So he got inspired with some ballet dancers, and he realized that if you see a ballet show, it looks like very complex and they're dancing and moving so much. But really, ballet dancers have 9 movements, and they go from one movement to the next, and that's all it does. It's a combination of different movements. Obviously, dancing is much more complex than running. And for running specifically, there's 3 poses. And once you dominate these 3 things and learn how to go through them, you become a more efficient runner, and you avoid injuries, and you actually can run a little faster because you become more efficient. You waste 33% less energy, which actually helps you push a little further. But yeah, like the post method for running is just a 12-week program that almost anyone can go through, and it fixes a lot of the problems. You know, like you see how running becomes more and more popular throughout the years, but you know, funny enough, a lot of people get more and more hurt. And it doesn't help that the shoe companies, for example, come up with like the latest shoes that are gonna make you run like you're on the clouds, you know, or like they're gonna make you so fast. And you see different developments where the sole becomes thicker and there's like a bigger difference between the heel and the toe, and you know it's supposed to help out, but really what that does is it affects your running technique, because part of the post method also is developing you know, your sensitivity, you know, your ability to process information that your body gives you. And what happens when you're running, you know, 70% of the information that you're supposed to get in your brain comes from your feet, from the soles of your feet. That's humans, how we're designed. The thicker you have your shoes, the less information you actually get. So that happens, like, you know, when a lot of people are heel striking, their heels are not getting hurt when they land because they have such an amazing cushion there. And there's no way that their brain's gonna know, like, oh yeah, I'm hurting myself because that's wrong. And they're getting the impact in the knee, which is not made to give you feedback that you're mistreating it. You do that with the information from the heel. So yeah, well, what my point was, like, you know, like shoes get more sophisticated, and the percentage of people who run who get injured gets larger instead of becoming smaller. So the idea of the post method is actually to fix this through proper teaching of technique. If you see a lot of coaches when they approach the running part of training, it's either in volume or speed. You know, you need to run 10K or you need to run like this fast. No one talks about how to run, and it's a skill that you need to learn. It's just like swimming, it's just like biking, just like golf, just like anything else. You can do it properly or you can do it improperly. And the danger in that is that if you actually run with a proper technique for long enough, you're going to get real hurt. So, you know, that's the whole point.
Okay. You said that a lot of the information comes from the sole of our feet. So would you suggest going barefoot running?
Well, barefoot running is useful, of course, but you need to develop, like, since we've been used to using shoes for so long, you need to develop your muscles for this. So it's part of the training, and yeah, it does help, but it's not the only thing. And what barefoot running does is it also encourages you to actually land on the forefoot, which is part of the proper technique. But landing on your forefoot is the result of actually landing correctly under your hip. So if you actually start changing your technique into landing on your forefoot only, you can still land in front of your center of gravity, which is your hip, and you can still get injured. So it's just a part of it, and yeah, it does help, and we have some drills that are barefoot running, but it's not the, you know, the bee's knees or like the L and B L of solutions. It's just a small solution for like a different changing technique.
You said the pose method is a 12-week program, so is...
Well, usually it takes about 12 weeks for a person to actually, you know, clean up their vices and their like inefficiencies in running. But obviously you can always keep training, you know, like we were having this clinic here at Transform, and we were explaining that when you're training, you know, you have, everyone has their own VO2 max, you know, but as a sports psychologist, you know that the VO2 max is just one variable. It's not the definitive. You cannot increase your VO2 max, first of all. You're born with it, and that's what it is. If you haven't used it well, or you haven't used your cardiovascular system well, you could improve it up to 20% more or less. But you cannot make it grow. It is what it is. It's like being like 6 foot tall or like blonde, you know, that's who you are. So that's something that gets there, but then, you know, and we're trying to explain this, like you cannot increase these things, and you cannot increase this capacity, you can only increase technique and your tolerance for pain. And one of the athletes was like, well, so why do Olympic athletes keep training if they don't like increase their VO2 max? Like, well, you can always improve on technique. And that's the whole thing with the approach from Dr. Romanov. Like, the better you get at your perception, the more efficient you're going to be of a runner, the less injury that you're going to be prone. It's not like you become a perfect runner after 12 weeks. So yeah, initially, like, you have 12 weeks in the program where you learn how to, you know, how to choose your shoes. You kind of clean up your technique, and you become a much better runner. But you can always just like adjust, and tweak your running until you're like the best possible runner that you can be.
So for who would you say who can participate in Ironman or learn how to take part in the post method running? Who's your audience?
Well, really everyone. Like there is kind of a segment in triathlon that it's more like A-type personalities. You know, like they're a little bit more driven. Runners are kind of like that, but you know, runners is a much broader spectrum. Although, like, you know, to answer your question like more clearly, who can do an Ironman? Anyone can. It just takes a matter of training and dedication. You know, you get a lot of, oh no, I gotta lose weight first, or my knee hurts, or you know, I'm too old, or I'm too young. But you see like 70-year-olds crossing the finish line over a Kona, and you see people with no legs running an Ironman. So really, like anyone can do it. And I have friends of all walks of life that can do it. It's just a matter of like getting the time and going through with it. That's it. So the post method, well, anyone can do it really. I mean, if you see most runners, you know, I'd say like about 80% of runners are heat strikers or have like severe mistakes in the running. That's just easily fixed. Even though like you've seen some of our drills are kind of silly, but the thing is like you need to train your body to learn how to do this. You know, because since you ignore it because it's silly and it seems intuitive, you just let it go, and then your brain forgets because you know we're lazy by nature. We're made to survive, and if you don't use something, well, it'll disappear. So.
All right, great. You also mentioned that post method can be used in other sports. So how do you implement it, for example, in biking or in swimming, the other two aspects to triathlons?
That's very interesting and controversial, actually, because the post method, for example, is all about managing gravity and your body weight. It's how you manage your body weight and balance to use gravity to propel you forward, right? So in running, it's really simple. You have three poses. The running pose is when you have your foot up and you're balanced perfectly on on your other foot, on your forefoot, right? And losing balance there is very easy. If you push someone by the hip, they'll fall forward, and that's what it is to run, just to fall forward and just learn how to catch yourself. You know? For biking, it's a little different. You actually have to generate power on each side of the pedals, and the thing is you need to learn how to shift your weight from left to right. Now, there's a lot of talk of like, when you're biking, you have to generate power all through the circle of the pedaling, and you also have to kind of pull back, and then you have to use your leg to kind of scrape down the mud of your foot and whatnot. Honestly, when you're cycling, and if, I don't know, like, do you have anything circular here, but
Is the ball?
yeah, sure. So if this is the you know where your pedals are, and your pedal is here on 12 o'clock, you will start generating the most power starting at around 1 or 2 up until 5. Okay, that's when you can actually really generate power. And if you even think about it, if you think that you're pulling hard enough conversely on the back of the pedal, there's no way that you can generate as much energy on this leg as much as you're generating here. So you're not actually helping this leg. Plus, you actually need support to generate this power, and you don't have any leverage on this leg. So really when your muscles are more active is like in this part from 1 to 5, okay? From there, what you need to learn is how to take your weight off of the pedal here and let it just go back up. But when you take your weight off of here, it means that you already shifted your weight to the other side, and that's when you're generating power. So essentially what you're learning how to do is just shift your weight from one side to the next, and just muscular strength is to actually balance your change of weight. Otherwise you don't have like anywhere else for leverage to push down the weight. So that's a part of cycling, and that also as a result increases your cadence. You know, like cadence for cycling should be 95 revolutions per minute. And same with running. Running, like in order to use your muscle tendon elasticity and actually propel you forward with gravity and use your weight to your advantage, you also should have a cadence of about 180 beats per minute.
For the beginners, what exactly is cadence for those who have very little?
Okay, so cadence is just the amount of beats you have in a minute, or the amount of times that you do a cycle in a minute, right? Well, that's what like BPM is beats per minute, and RPM is revolutions per minute, and it's the same thing. Revolutions just a circle. But yeah, so when you're running, for example, you need to go like hop, 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 hop. That's about like the cadence for running. Same with biking. You know, it's a little bit faster.
Okay.
Those you need to do, and that will actually help you get through some obstacles like hills or wind, you know, those things. So yeah, that's in cycling. In swimming, it's that, you know, like, and cycling is the thing, and you can teach it. It actually helps out with injuries as well. Swimming is a little bit more complicated, you know, because you have to take into consideration, when you know how to move gravity, where the point of support is. So again, going back into running, you have one point of support, which is your foot, you know, and at a given point you're just like standing on your foot. That's one, and the thing is you move that, right? On the bike it gets a little bit more complicated. You have several points of support. Like the two major ones are the wheels, you know, those are like the ones that are actually holding most if not all of the weight, right? And then you have two other secondary supports, which are like your handle and your seat. And you have the pedals, which is where you're actually putting your weight. And what you want is put as much weight as you can on your pedals, because that's where you're going to be generating power. So that's one. In swimming, what you need to do is learn how to shift your weight and fall forward, but you're actually laying down horizontally. So what you want to do is, first of all, have as much support as possible. And that's when you're extending like this. You know, when you're fully extended, that's when you have when you distribute your weight more in the water, and that actually helps you be out of the water a little bit more. The more you're in the water, the more resistance and drag you get, right? So that's one part. And then what you do is you learn how to shift your weight. So if you're holding yourself here in the water, you have to come back and fall like this, and then you push yourself back. So what you're doing is you're pushing yourself out of the water, kind of, and then when you do this, as if you were climbing a monkey bar in a playground, but under you, and then you catch yourself when you're going to do this, and you do the same. So that way you're stretching yourself forward to maintain a good base. So you're still floating in the water, and you have like full support on your full body, and also you're trying to keep to get the least resistance from the water as well. And that, like, actually learning the poses in swimming will actually teach you to use your shoulder blade instead of your shoulder to do the full rotation, and this will generate like the high elbow. So there are many things that are a result of proper technique that are usually taught as what you need to be looking for, which is kind of weird. For example, when you're running, a long stride is a result of speed. It's not the cause of speed. So telling someone to run faster by getting a larger stride is not the proper way to do it. Teaching someone how to go faster then will actually just show up as a longer stride. But that's something different. The same with swimming, you know? Like, look for the high elbow. Then you can, like, you know, artificially have a high elbow, but it's not necessarily like the proper movement that you're doing with your whole body. Same with rotation. You can rotate, like, you know, however you can, but it's not necessarily gonna make you go faster. When you're reaching out, like as if you were reaching for an apple or something, that makes you rotate, and that rotates your hip and everything. So it's just learning what are the 4 or 5 basic movements in swimming that will actually get you to move faster and will cause the actual, you know, trademarks of swimming properly.
Okay. Great. Awesome. Lots of great information for
Thanks.
Our audience.
Well,
Just
I understand. Yeah.
If not, please contact Omar and he can explain. Now that summer is coming up, and Dubai summer is a very special summer, how do you stay motivated to train? Because I know you're preparing for the Copenhagen.
Yeah, Ironman Copenhagen in August, right? So this is the second summer that I'm going to be training in Dubai for an Ironman, which is a challenge. that, like, to answer your question, that's the biggest motivator. If you have something to go to, and this happens with training and everything, you know, as long as you have a goal and the goal offsets the effort, you know, like if what you want to go for is worth what you're doing, then you're just going to go do it. And it just pushes, it's the same thing as with the high elbow with swimming, you know, it's a result of something else. You know, having enough resolve to want to do something is going to make you adjust your life. So what's going to happen is I'm going to start biking now at 4 or 3 in the morning, depending, for the long bike rides. And if you know, if you don't want to do that, or you don't have a large enough group, what you can do is just get a trainer. And I've done it before, you know, if you have a 5-hour ride, a 6-hour ride, well, you know, you watch 2 movies or 3 movies, or you watch a full series of something, you know, just like back home. So you do, you know, it's manageable. It's not the end of the world, and plus it's not that, you know, that hot early in the morning or really late at night. So yeah, that's how you do it.
Yeah.
You're just gonna have to have a goal.
Great. So if anyone wants to get in touch with you to learn how to take part in a triathlon or learn more about the pose method, how can they get in touch?
Oh well, you know, we have our Facebook page, which is where we're more active. It's facebook.com/gostrongme.com, and then we have our Instagram, which is gostrong_UAE. And well, the post method, we have the Facebook page for the post method in the Middle East, which is facebook.com/postmethodmiddleeast. That's where you can find us. That's it. Like, well, where can we find more about you? That's about that.
Right. So you can follow us on Facebook and like our page. It's Transform Fitness. Or if you want to follow me, you can follow me on Instagram, which is dr_CAREN, so Dr. Karen. Thank you very much. Anything else you would like to add, Omar, or that you think our audience needs to know?
Well, you know, if you want to reach out to us and just join our training sessions, you're welcome to come. Usually we have late night running sessions on Tuesdays where you can just join us and you can get some tips on running technique. And if you want to train with the team, well, then just find us on Facebook or on our website. Actually, we're not that active there, and we're like fixing it. But it's www.gostrong.me, and you can just find us there.
All right, great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And yeah, so this was the wrap up for session number 2. We will be having another session next week where we will have a surprise. We're going to invite a pro athlete to come talk to us. So yeah, looking forward to next week.
Cool.